All right, folks, it's Friday. Share, share, share. Share, 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 share. We're going to put together the poll for Iowa today. All right, we're going to go over that, talk about it. I'm not thinking it needs to be loaded up. There's the Iowa Caucus is a funny state to, the caucus is funny to poll because there are different ways that you could do it. And most people are doing it like a traditional primary poll right now. But I do want to ask about second choices, number one, and also want to ask about not voting at all, because we are going to ask about general election preference as well. So we're going to do it a little bit differently than we had done before, to explicitly say the other party or third party, and then say, I would not vote. All right. Because we're going to continuously measure which vote block is bigger, the anti-Trump or the Trump only vote block. All right. I noticed Pennsylvania did that, Tennessee, Beacon Research did that in their primary poll that came out yesterday. And that's cool to see other pollsters start to do that, because it's something that, it's like the biggest story it's like the biggest story. We're also going to keep a little secret lid on the shoddiness of the videos this week without Laura around. She's not here, so it's going to be our secret. All right. 12:30-ish roughly, unless this live stream that I got going here, I'd like to watch my kid. I'm going to take a commercial break for like maybe 4 minutes or something like that to watch it. We'll see. It doesn't look like it's running right now, so maybe we won't do that at all, frankly. But I hope it does come on. I can't stand it when those streams go down and I miss out. It stinks. It's already. I wanted to go with them actually, but I can't. Vacation time is vacation time for me. Yeah, that's just the way it is. All right, so let's see. Couple primary talk. We'll talk primary. We'll crunch some delegate math. New poll out in Texas, right? Today, the CWS research poll out of Texas, which very clearly shows a trend. All right, throughout May and June, this was a poll that certainly other Texas polls were not. This was a more friendly poll for DeSantis. It has been than some of the other polls out of Texas. This one, though, however, does show Trump above 50 as well, and we'll crunch some delegate math and that. What would that mean? And go into the poll and see. But a lot of this is going to take a whole lot of time. So let's just start with, again, looking at the last results, so nobody thinks I put my thumb on the scale here and changed your preference. It was overwhelming, almost 2,000, right? Almost 2,007, almost 1,700 responses. And I'll refresh it again real quick here. Let's see. And the preference overwhelmingly. And that was true of locals people. That was true of Twitter people. That was true of Facebook people. It was everybody chose Iowa, even though it's pretty close. 23.6 for Iowa, which was 400 votes on the money. 14.1 for Nevada, which was 239. Texas, which we'll talk about later, was 10.9, just ahead of Florida by one vote, even though it was still 10.9 for Florida. Texas was just one vote. It inched out Florida. I do want to continue to come back to Florida because I do think it, at this moment, is very clearly Ron DeSantis' last stand state, if they can get him to March 19th. And that is the question here. We're going to talk about that delegate math and that controversy that happened with California yesterday. Went on a really good, I just want to give her credit. She had asked me a couple of times to go on her Twitter space. It's phenomenology. She had a Twitter space, and Tyler and I did that yesterday to talk about California, and we did it for the wee hours until the wee hours of the morning, until I jumped off because of some pretentious prick that I don't know, just came out of nowhere. But that's the thing about those Twitter spaces. You have to rely on people's behavior and decency, and unfortunately, you can't say that of everybody, and somebody can just jump into space and destroy a perfectly reasonable and mature discussion, intellectual discussion, which we were having before. And Laura Loomer dropped by on it, and so did David Giglio. We had a good talk. It's a shame, but it was running late anyway, and I really hadn't as much said that as I could. All right, but we see Iowa here. That's it. Let me just sign in. So I'm just gonna create a new server. I just don't want you guys to see inside. I want other people to I don't want the public to see private clients work. And we'll call this Iowa Caucus Poll July. We'll call it July. We'll just say July. All right. And obviously, you guys felt, then I think you rightfully felt, that the Iowa caucuses could be more important than ever this year. Because, frankly, Cruz kept this campaign alive in 2016 by winning the Iowa caucus. And everybody was anti-Trump, the media, everybody, the party, they were all anti-Trump. And what happened is they all, to include the Cruz campaign, which is being run, sorry, I'm trying to get a chair out of the way, was populated by many of the same people that are trying to stop Trump this time in DeSantis' campaign. That's just true. They used it as a narrative to keep Cruz's campaign alive a lot longer than anyone's campaign would have been alive. To demonstrate what I'm saying, in 2012, the media very much clearly wanted Mitt Romney. Barack Obama wanted Mitt Romney. He was not afraid of Mitt Romney. Contrary to what Fox News told you, he wasn't. The Obama team was not concerned about Romney at all. They already knew that they would paint him as a technocrat or a plutocrat. And, this is exactly what they did. And Fox News, being rhinos, country club Republicans, they never saw it coming. All right. So that's why. And by the way, it's kind of sad. We saw Maggie Haberman's tweet about her story and then DeSantis' appearance on Fox News. I feel like we're seeing the same thing happen, which is your pollsters got to tell you the truth. And I don't know if everybody has seen that poll or know what I'm talking about. Or seen that article and know what I'm talking about. But let me read it to you, and that'll lead into this. But Maggie Haberman wrote, and it's amazing. Look, if you're going to rely on the New York Times to try to attack people who criticize your campaign, then I'm going to rely on them when they report something like this. Fair game. Even though to use these media outlets as, cannon fodder is unbelievable. DeSantis, whose aides often say ignores polls, says this to Fox when pushed repeatedly on his lagging numbers against Trump. I think a lot of those things show I have the highest favorabilities, which we appreciate, but we have a lot more to do. He does not have the highest favorabilities. His unfavorability rating is screaming to the moon. 3 pollsters that we speak to on a continuous basis independent, and I think it's fair to say they're Republican pollsters. The other two are Republican pollsters. At this point, general consensus among us that if this keeps up and something doesn't change, that DeSantis's unfavorability numbers could get on par with, say, somebody like Mike Pence, where quite a chunk of your own party can't stand you anymore. So I tweeted this, and it's worth repeating. This is the unfortunate result of a campaign sheltering the candidate from the truth and only feeding him internal polls that are really meant to prevent donor exodus. Your pollster has to be honest with you. They were not honest with Mitt Romney. It's not doing the candidate any favor to blanket them or cloak them in the polling that you're giving them that is totally different from everybody else, and not giving them the reality of what is happening with everybody, with the polling world. So if you're outside the polling consensus, it could very well end up that you're the one who's right. It has happened to us many, many times. It happened to us in 2016, 18, and 20. Yeah. But and then, by the way, I mean, we were pretty much in the polling consensus in 2022. And in some cases wrong. So, I mean, it can go, but you don't ignore it. And this is a very different, I mean, look, folks, when I was outside the polling consensus in 2020, I was saying, Trump would win Florida. It's over. We were outside the consensus pretty significantly in Iowa and Ohio. And in some of these other states, they were like Biden +7 in Michigan. We said Biden +2 in Michigan, right? So that wasn't that big of a deal. That wasn't that different. Some of that's defendable. But this is, in some cases, 30 point difference. That is very unlikely that your internal poll then is right and everybody else is wrong. We're not talking about swings either within the sampling error or just outside of it that still can be defendable. We're talking about something that's almost an alternative reality. Okay. So I think what you, or at least 25% of you roughly, understand is that the trend is very clear in this campaign, in this nomination process. The president has always had a lead, though that lead has grown to be historically dominant. And if you're looking at the calendar, which we put up, and you guys can check it out again, I just tweeted it along with the tweet about Texas, you could see that between Iowa and, let's say, Florida, which is March 19th, between those two contests are not a lot of opportunities for Ron DeSantis, including a state like Tennessee, which is on March 5th. There's going to be a ton of delegates awarded on March 5th. You ready? Alaska, 28, Alabama, 49, Arkansas, 40, California, 169, Colorado, 37, Maine, 20, Massachusetts, 40. Oh, let me just say, if you do not like what the California GOP tried to pull, keep the pressure on. There is absolutely the easiest path, and delegates, as I understand, many are starting to understand as they're educated on this, that the easiest thing to do is not to change the rule at all. There's no reason to change it. It qualifies perfectly for moving that state to March 5th. All right, so Colorado, 37, Maine, 20, Massachusetts, 40, Minnesota, 39, North Carolina, 75, Oklahoma, 43, Tennessee, 58, Texas, 162, Utah, 40, Vermont, 17, Virginia, 48. With Trump dominating the South and the Northeast, and the only states that are really in question, and if some of these other states are turning out the way they're turning out, Alaska is going to be hard for someone to mount a challenge to against Trump as well. Utah is one where, without a doubt, I think DeSantis could play. There's a lot of Mormons there that don't, either the Latter-day Saint Church and very establishment Republicans that don't like Trump. It's always been the case. So I do think that it's possible that, you can grab some of those delegates in Utah. There's 40 of them. It's not some. And then you have, let's see, Oklahoma, where Governor Stitt endorsed DeSantis. And because they do have somewhat of a crazy system, I could see them making a play in a state like Oklahoma too. Here's the problem. Oklahoma borders Texas. Trump is very, very dominant. We're going to look at this later, in the area where Texas borders Oklahoma. So, and Governor Stitt was going to lose his primary last cycle. He needed Trump's endorsement, which he called and literally begged for, and he got. he was going to lose. So how powerful is that governor's endorsement against the former president if he needed the former president's endorsement to secure the primary, to secure renomination? It's a valid question to ask. All right. So there aren't that many in between Iowa and Florida. On March 10th is Puerto Rico. Trump's going to clean up. And there's a majority threshold in Puerto Rico. He's very popular among caucus goers in Puerto Rico, always has been. Georgia, maybe. Maybe there's an element of Republican establishmentism in there, but I don't know. We'll see. Hawaii, definitely not. Trump is going to kill it in Hawaii. Idaho, maybe. Mississippi, Trump. Missouri, Trump. I mean, we've seen some of these polls. Washington State, potentially. They could, get some delegates out of there. It's a winner take most at the district level. It's a bit of a split system. Winner take most at the district level, and it's proportional statewide, so he can get some delegates out of that. Arizona's winner take all on March 19th with Florida. So is Illinois, Kansas, and Ohio. Donald Trump has a 44-point lead in the state of Ohio. Kansas, maybe. DeSantis would be able to get some delegates out of Kansas, but that is the only proportional state. That's it. Illinois is a winner-take-all loophole primary system, and Trump's going to win it. Florida, Trump is ahead right now. So you need to do something to change the landscape, to get yourself a narrative win in order, because Florida's not going to exist in a vacuum. It's not on some island somewhere and it doesn't know what's going on with the rest of the primary. It does. And, unless you want to end up like Rudy Giuliani, you have to acknowledge that it will move. And at the end of the day, it's very possible the governor could get blown out in his own state if he's not dropping out by that time. Arizona's going to Trump. And we all know that. He's the most popular Republican politician in the state. Both sides have polled it now internally. The establishment on the Republican side has polled it internally. The leading candidate for the Democratic Senate nomination has polled it internally. Kerry Lake has polled it internally. I have seen all of their polls. Donald Trump is by far the most popular Republican. DeSantis's image is starting to get hurt pretty badly in Arizona. And by the way, guess who's the second most popular Republican in the state of Arizona? Kerry Lake. She's only separated by Trump and in net favorability by a few points. One was literally only 1 point. I believe that one was the poll conducted by the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And her own poll, which I'm not sure I'm at liberty to say, was very, very, very close. It may even have also been 1 point. I just can't remember on the top of my head, but very close. The Democrats, same thing. She was within single digits of popularity spread between Donald Trump. And what did the DeSantis campaign do? They attacked her. So Arizona's not, that's going to Trump, especially after massive victories on Super Tuesday. So you have to have a narrative win. And I think that the people who took this poll understand that if Iowa doesn't go to DeSantis, even if they wind up, it's proportional allocation. When Ted Cruz won it, all he got was a narrative win. He didn't get any delegate spread against Donald Trump because the proportional system literally is what it sounds like, proportional. It's the simplest form of proportional distribution, allocation. And let's see, in 16... let's see where it went, for instance. So Cruz won by a few points, but let's see what happened with the delegation at the end of the day. Where's Cruz? Okay. Cruz got 8 delegates. Trump got 7. Cruz won the Iowa caucuses 26.67 to 23.33. The Cruz crew engineered a dirty little trick against Ben Carson, who only got 3 delegates and 10% of the vote because his campaign and his precinct captains were alerted by the Cruz campaign that he had dropped out and that they had instructed their people to caucus for Cruz. At the end of the day, he got a narrative win. The delegate spread was 8, 7, and Rubio got 7. Even though he came in 3rd. So, again, if there's no narrative win in Iowa, I just don't see where DeSantis or whoever may emerge, by the way, Because by the time we get there, it may not be the primary. Because people on the DeSantis side keep saying, we're still months away. Well, that's true for you too. You may not be the top tier candidate. Oh, not top tier. You may not be the second place candidate, because you know how I feel about this top tier characterization this time around. Top tier there's only one candidate in the top tier in this primary. That's it. The rest of them are all bottom tier. When you're talking about first, second, third tier in a primary like 2016, for instance, there was a slew of top tier candidates. And even John Kasich was getting 20% of the vote consistently in the primary, national primary polls. He was a second tier candidate for a long time. You had Trump and then Cruz. Rubio at one point was a top tier candidate coming out of, he lost it, I would say, coming out of New Hampshire. And they just didn't realize it. He was a top tier candidate for a bit there. And you had a bunch of middle tier candidates. Jeb was only a top tier in the sense that Fox News told you he was. He never won any votes. So then he fell quickly to the bottom tier. That doesn't exist now, like Trump leading with 30, Cruz at 22. That's not what's happening here. This is a dominant position. So much so that nobody could even be considered another top tier campaign. That's the painful truth. All right. So if they cannot pull something off, the stream went on. If they cannot pull something off in Iowa, they're going to have a tough time making magic anywhere, folks. All right. All right. So it's supposed to be, my daughter's dance here is supposed to be in like 5 minutes, maybe something like that. I don't know. I'll have to get the number. Times mean nothing in these things. You have to get the number. All right. So let's pull it up, and then we'll go over the delegate math in more detail. Let me just look at the number. You all remember the number for me? Okay, I got it. That's cool. That's actually an easy number to remember. All right, so we're going to start off, and I'm going to pull up, you won't see it, I'm going to pull up some others. I have questions in library banks, but I'm going to do Iowa a little bit different this time. So I'm going to wind up copying and pasting some questions from other surveys so I don't have to waste my time and do it all over again. But we're going to do something a little bit different we're going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to add a very simple voter screen to this. And first of all, I'm going to change this up a little bit. We're going to call this, obviously, that people don't see this. It's just so we're going to do a voter screen. We're going to give them a little prompt to read out or prompt to read themselves, depending on how they do it. Yep, we're going to keep that. I'm going to change that a little bit. It's going to say we're going to specifically state to them that this is a publicly funded project, but we are polling the Iowa caucuses. And we are going to, it's coming off of voter files. So it's like, we don't really need that kind of a screen. Let's just do the tight vote. Let's just do the tight screen. Okay. So yeah, I'm not going to do this is Florida, but we're going to change it. When we put it in there, we're going to do a tighter screen. What do I mean by that? I mean, we know it's coming from the vote. These numbers are coming from the voter file. We'll do their ineligibility. We'll do their eligibility afterward. Okay. So we're going to ask them, frankly, how likely are you to, we're going to give them chances here to certain to vote, likely to vote, meaning the odds are greater than 50-50, and certain, oh God, Rich, your spelling is terrible today, not to vote. All right. So, yep, that's one. And then we'll do a little bit of a screen for the party. I'm debating whether or not I want to put in a traditional registered voter screen. I'm not sure yet. We're going to add logic to this too, by the way. There will be logic to this question. If they're certain or likely, then they will, and it's caucus. In which party caucus will you vote next year? Or are you unlikely or ineligible to participate in either? All right. This is another layer of the screen. Republican, Democratic, and unlikely, ineligible. We're going to add logic. So only show this question based on the answer to previous questions, and I may have to add a layer if we do add the registered voter. But the truth is, we're randomly pulling off of a voter file, so it is theoretically, this is why I wrestle with it. It's theoretically possible that somebody who's not a registered voter is going to get called, even though it comes off a voter file. Why? Everybody say it with me. The voter files are dirty, right? There aren't 140-year-olds like I showed you in Maine or whatever that was. It's in every state, though. It really is. Hold on one second. So if they say they're certain not to vote, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a skip or DQ logic. All right. So how likely are you to vote? All right. If you, or I should just say participate. Certain to vote, likely to vote, meaning the odds are greater than 50-50. If they say certain not to vote, we are going to DQ them. Okay. Let me just make sure I get this right here. Yeah. And we're going to say, sorry, this is what we're going to tell people to say or what people will read. There we go. Tell them it's being done by Big Data Poll. And we are through the loop. That's just the DQ. It tells people they can't do it. There are actually, if you look back at the entrance polls, they asked in 2016, they asked about whether or not this was the first caucus or the time they ever participated in an Iowa caucus. And I would like to do that. I would like to ask them that. We're also put in general election hypotheticals. Okay. And in the voter screen, instead of doing what we normally do, I know I just got Laura's text. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, 12:30. That's a minute from now, baby. A minute from now. All right. So instead of doing a 4-cycle vote history, which I'm gonna know anyway, or at least theoretically, we do know most of them. I'm gonna add that, but I'm gonna stop it. I'm only gonna ask about caucus participation, and I'm gonna add the added question of is this the first time you've participated? If not, then if it's not, then they'll get filtered into the other vote history. If it is, then obviously that's going to be a skip, and we're just going to move on to the next questions. They can say, yeah, it's my first time, and we're not going to ask them the rest of them. I'm trying to keep survey fatigue down to a minimum by simply eliminating the necessity of asking people things that are, or asking people things that are unnecessary when we can gather them from other information. All right. So let's go to I'm going to use my old caucus question. I just want to review it and see whether or not I like this or if I want to change this in any way. I simply just like the old style. If the Iowa caucuses were held today, for whom would you vote? And then is this okay? We're getting close, very close. I'm just going to ask you guys to give me a couple of minutes to watch something when it comes. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to ask people whether or not they are decided, could change their mind, and then who their second choice pick is. All right. And this also, of course, will have logic, even though I'll have to come down to, I'll have to come down at a certain point here. Oops. All right. 2024 presidential nomination. I keep that, even though it's caucus, I keep that the same because it all is stored in the, don't forget the reminder. It's all stored in the database thing. So it all has to match. So I know where to find it later. Add the question. Make sure it's got logic. The page has got to have logic, actually. But if they say that they're going to vote in the presidential, oh my God, all these. I want to thank some of these candidates for running for president, even though we all know they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. And now I have to put down all of this stuff anyway. It will be randomized, so don't give me shit, people, about how I'm writing these. I wrote them in order of declaring. All right, so this, yeah, Nikki Haley goes next. I'll give Ron benefit of the doubt. Then Vivek goes next, right? Vivek. I did it like that to not. It doesn't matter anyway because it is ultimately an ace that came after Tim. I thought it was the other way around. I actually thought Asa Hutchinson came after Tim. Don't go dark on me, laptop. Okay. Mike Pence, then Chris Christie. And there's a bunch of, I'll put Francis Suarez is in there. Larry Elder came first, excuse me. Larry Elder came before Chris Christie. Actually, I got to move that. Will Hurd. Am I missing anyone? I know that people have declared like crazy. I think I am missing. What's his name? And the governor of Doug Burgum. That's his name. Doug Burgum comes after Larry Elder, but before Will Hurd and Francis Suarez. Someone else. And undecided. So ridiculous. Now, it's just so ridiculous. Right here, what I'm going to do is make these fixed. They are fixed. Someone else is never going to move. Neither is undecided when they are randomized. You don't do that. Layout. And I'm going to randomize the options. There we go, right? Everybody happy? I hear this almost every time. And in logic, I'm simply going to say if they chose the Republican primary or the Republican caucus, and how likely are you to vote in the presidential caucus next year? And really, it should say, I want to change that. It should say participate. How likely are you to participate in the Iowa presidential caucus next year? And in which party caucus will you vote? Will you participate next year? Will you participate next year? My spelling skills are killing me today. All right. Is this randomized? I got to randomize this. Whoops. Question. And I'm just doing the same thing here, where Republican and Democrat will be randomized. Unlikely and eligible will remain. Okay. This is why I want pre-recorded commercials. Hey, did I miss anybody? Right, Burgum. I'm looking at your comments. Right, I got Doug Burgum in there. I got him. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of the Keeblers. Right? Gotta be fair here. Gotta be fair, guys. I don't think so. I don't think I missed anybody else. I really don't. Locals. I missed anybody? And your next comments. Perry Johnson. Perry Johnson is running for president now, isn't he? Yeah, I believe he is. Let me just double check. I think you're right. Perry Johnson. Look, he spoke at the Faith and Freedom Coalition. He is, in fact, running. So that is what we're doing. Republican Perry Johnson kicked off his long shot campaign. Yeah, he's running, which means I got to change the national too. He came after Will Hurd, though, right? I believe so. Like I said, it doesn't matter. They'll be randomized anyway. Honestly, it seems to me a little bit ridiculous. The thing about these caucuses in early primary states, though, is that they are cheap to compete in. Or theoretically, they are. They're not as expensive media markets as some other states. So a lower name candidate, something like that, can, basically get in a truck like Chuck Grassley and go to all 99 counties, which there are 99 counties in the state of Iowa. All right, so we're also going to add another page. Wait, did I do the logic here? Yeah, I did. We're also going to do the other page for the Democratic nomination, all right? Or no, we're not. We're going to, fatigue, Rich, fatigue. Let's do Fatigue. So instead of doing, we're not going to do page logic. We're going to do question logic. Okay, hold on. Yeah, let's do question logic. Make it this much, much easier. Simple presidential nominations. Get rid of the conditions on this. Logic, we're going to remove this. Remove this logic. Save it. Come down here. Add logic to the question instead. So this way it's still the same page. Only people will see a different question depending on who they answer. All right, so the question itself has logic, and we'll add another question. Add the question. Click, click, click. What number are we on? Okay, next one's coming. We got one more before I gotta take a quick hot minute break. And actually, I always like to make it easier, folks, and just copy. If the Democratic caucus for the presidential nomination were held today, who would you vote? Logic, show this rule if they say they are participating in the Democratic caucus. And I know some of this stuff can be boring, but it's also, Joe Biden, Robert Kennedy Jr., Miriam. I always mess our name up. Always. Sorry. I'm just Marion Williamson. Someone else. Undecided. Pin it to the bottom. Jeez, that's loud out there. Can you guys hear that out there or no? Pin it to the bottom and randomize options. All right, so now we got Joe Biden, we got the Democrats, we have Republicans, and let's just add let's add demographics really quick. Just get that out of the way. Iowa is different. We have to go through how do we keep this similar to the exit polls? All right, eastern cities, east, central, Des Moines, central, and west. How I'm going to do it is central is going to be, and let me get something that I can legitimately see here. Where are you? Where are you? I had it just a second ago. Central is going to include Story, Marshall, Polk, Jasper, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep East Central where we have Dubuque and all that. That will be East. That is the East Central area. And then the West, we're going to combine those, what are regions of Western Iowa from, where are we? Line to Fremont. Yep. And Osceola to Page. We'll go all the way over to Emmett to Wayne because we're going to carve out around Central. Okay. And those regional definitions, I'll explain a little bit more when we do it. All right. When we're doing when we finish the actual poll and we're going over it. Okay. All right. So let's go to basic demographics. We're going to make a basic demographic. Any day now. Okay. We're going to give them a little prompt that says, do not run away. We are almost finished. Basic demographics. And in basic demographics, we're going to add from the library. We're going to add age. We'll have to move this around though. Age, detail. I think we do have to age, detail, dropdowns on online version. That's easy. Yeah, that's better. And race, we're going to do basic because, of course, race is very, very white in Iowa. Those are all the regions for battleground states. And gender, where's gender? We're having a hard time clicking today, huh? Age, race, and gender, those are basics. All right, save them up. Here's where we always have a problem with this stuff, but move gender first, then age. And let me just refresh it because sometimes that doesn't take effect. Watch. You'll see what I mean. And I got to do it all over again. Nope, it took effect this time. Excellent. All right. And the reason why I do basic first is because if I want to do a detail about, I'm leaving the option. I want to see how big the survey is when we're done, but I'm leaving the option for ethnicity, white ethnicity, which I think I want to do. All right. So for instance, Well, you know what? I'll show you. Well, I guess I could. I suppose I could put it as a no, I can't put it as a logic question. Has to go on a page. Yeah, it does. Okay. Has to go on a page because when you have logic rules, they change per survey. So in the question bank, if you have like, for instance, what I'm going to put in right now, in the question bank, oops, cancel, which is a library item. If I'm looking for, where are you? White, is this under white detail? White, white, white. Is there a search box here? Nope. Just got to go through it. National origin Asian, national origin Midwest, national origin white. Okay. So I can't keep this in the library bank unless white detail. I'll add that later. And logic is going to be if they said their race and ethnicity was white Caucasian. And what's in this? Let's look actually. I'll show you. Edit linked element in the library so I don't undo it. German, Irish, Italian, English, Polish, Dutch, French, Scot-Irish, Scottish, Norwegian, Danish, Russian, Swedish, other. The reason why we do this, if you've never seen us do that before and never heard Barnes and I talk about it, is to gauge a candidate's strength in the Midwest. If you have a large enough sample size where you can really do meaningful research into the ethnicity or national origin of these voters, then, and English, I should put, English American or whatever. If you have that, you can get a sense of how they're going to do in some of these other Rust Belt states. So if you're really strong with Scandinavians, you may be able to do some real damage in a state like Minnesota. If you're really strong with Germans, you're going to be a strong candidate in Pennsylvania, okay? Could indicate it. If you are really strong with Norwegians, you're going to do really well in certain areas of Wisconsin. And of course, I want to know that, right? And then also, because we'll be able to see, quite frankly, who has the better chance in some of these states than others. It is much too simple to simply put it as a question about suburbs or a question about suburbs or a question about race. How are you doing with certain blocks of race? It's too simple. All right, so we're going to do detailed demographics next. And when am I going to start it? I think I'm going to start this tomorrow, frankly. And with detailed demographics, we're going to add questions from the library bank, which are education, household income, employment, right? What else am I missing here? I think that's it marital, parental. We want to add all this stuff. This is why I don't want so many questions because I want to keep it down. Okay, it's time for me to take a short break. Hang on one second. Bear with me. We'll be back. 2 minutes. Well, I'll wait until they are literally out. Okay. Come on. You know what? I'll play you a video while I'm taking a break. How about that? This is the video that Maggie Haberman was referring to. There we go. We're going to scoot this over, make it bigger so you can see it. And I'm going to play you this while I do that. Any day now. Add it to the stream. Hat tip ACYN. Hat tip ACYN. All right, so here you have Will asking DeSantis about his poll numbers. I don't know what was more uncomfortable about this, the fact that he did that thing he does, or that Fox News was very clearly trying to give him a softball interview. And while we're at it, NL, is this shift towards Trump in younger voters a sustainable trend? How does it affect the Electoral College? So I'm doing an article for a paper or a website you guys know, and it's going to be out, I hope, fairly soon. I'm actually making that case right now, and if you go back to 2016, as we did in some of the voter analysis episodes we did, you'll see that this actually isn't new. It's just more pronounced than it's ever been. And in some states in 20, he maintained it, when in others he did not. All right, so like in Maine, he dipped, a little bit. But let me play the clip and we'll come back.
Record of defeating the left on issue after issue, and we'll be making that case over the next 6 or 7 months. I'm running to win in January and February. I'm not running to juice polling now.
I do believe there is some truth in the saying that you shall be defined by your enemies. So I appreciate you bringing up those who are attacking you and your.
I don't know what the hell that was. What does that mean? What the hell does that have to do with what he just asked?
Run for president. What about those, though, as well, that support you? Steve Cortez is one of the major leaders of a super PAC that supports Ron DeSantis, and he acknowledges that the numbers right now are not where they need to be. And Governor, I want to be clear with you. You and I have met on one occasion, and I think you have done a wonderful job. What I'm trying to suss out tonight,
get your nose and lips out of his rectum,
is when that job, if ever, begins to resonate in the numbers for you for president. And as I mentioned, we've met, and I liked you a lot, but there are those that say there's something about you that's not connecting for whatever reason.
There are those who say, no, that's known. Those who say that is the case.
Not connecting with the voter, whether or not it be personality. Donald Trump says it's about loyalty. Francis Suarez says it's about your relationships. And it's not about those individuals so much as I'm curious in the analysis of Ron DeSantis.
You ever consider it was all of those things combined, and that you don't listen to anybody and all you do is attack people instead of taking valid criticism? And so all of these things mounted, and now it's not one thing anymore. It's a lot.
Of why not yet is connecting.
Well, I think, did you just see the news today about the record fundraising haul we've had? Nobody's been able to match that in the history of modern presidential.
Wait, I can't let that go. I just can't. We'll talk about that in a second. There's a major caveat when it comes to his fundraising haul. 85 million of that was a transfer, PAC transfer, that actually was funds from Trump supporters when they were supporting him as a governor, and people who didn't realize he was running for president when they continued to do this thing, this very weird thing that they were doing, like pretending like they weren't running. And that's a huge caveat. Sorry.
Politics. So we've got a huge amount of support to be able to take the case to the people. We really haven't started that yet. We're in the process of building out a great organization, and I think we're going to be on the ground in all these early states. It is a 3 yards in a cloud of dust type situation. That's what we're going to be doing.
Right.
But look, at the end of the day, nobody has stood up for hardworking Americans more than I have over these last 5 years and delivered the level of results that I have. That's going to be a great story to tell, because if we did it in Florida.
That's a hell of a claim, but okay.
We absolutely can do it as president. That'll mean the border, the invasion stops. It'll mean the economy's restored. And it's going to mean that woke ideology ends up in the dustbin of history.
One more on this path to the presidency, if I might, Governor. You said it's about beating Joe Biden, and I think that's ultimately the real question. But in order to get to that fight, you have to beat.
The polling now is getting very clear that the electability argument is not true. Okay, the electability argument that he's making, that so many other establishment people have been making, is not true. So they're gonna have to find something else to say, because that's just not holding water anymore. Only people like him on Fox News believe that. That's not true. I wanted to show something else that is an alternative take. Jesus, Charlie. Blasting, brother. Blasting. Turn down the volume.
Let's talk about the primary. I mean, I think Governor DeSantis is America's greatest governor. I think he's done a great job in Florida. I think he's running a terrible campaign. Am I wrong?
It's one of the worst run campaigns I think I've ever seen. And do you remember months ago we used these? I came on the show and we were talking about the Scott Walker analogy. This may even be worse, honestly. I mean, the problem is, Charlie, you can go back to the mishandling of his statement to Tucker Carlson on Ukraine at the worst possible time. And their pollster should have told them this instead of putting out polls that were way outside the mainstream for a narrative. They should have been doing the right thing and telling their candidate, now the public is looking at you and you cannot mess up. And by the way, it wasn't just him. They were looking at other people running too. They messed up at the worst possible time to mess up and have been messing up ever since. It is amateur hour to overpromise and underperform. Wait till the announcement. Wait till the announcement. And then it became a disaster of an announcement. Now it's wait till the debates. Wait till the debates, right? We're now on to that. Again, overpromising and overhyping. What if you do what you did against Andrew Gillum and Charlie Crist and Trump just bludgeoned you all over the stage? Then what's it going to be? Stop doing that. You just don't overhype expectations in politics. That is a campaign 101 lesson. You don't do that. You made your announcement into a singular event that was going to shift the tide of the race 30 net points, and you overpromised and you underperformed. And that's the worst thing you could do. And it's just been one thing like that after another. You can't afford that when, let's be real, he's not a personal, how can I put, he's not a great retail politician. He's not. He's not good at running around shaking hands. He can't go to pizza stores in Little Cube in Miami-Dade. He cannot go to the McDonald's in East Palestine and do what you see President Trump do at Pat's, at Pat's in Philadelphia. It's very, very different. Very different. So you have to rely on campaign, the techniques of how to win a campaign, and they failed them on that time again. So yeah. All right. So instead of, taking some of that to heart, it's like your Twitter feed is just like bombarded with this. And then, nothing gets fixed. Nothing gets it. But the point I brought up in that, and I know you guys probably remember that, the Scott Walker analogy. This is worse than Scott Walker at this point. This is absolutely worse. And the problem, it's hard to undo when you make a mistake that badly. Voters were saying, all right, maybe I won't support Trump this cycle. I'll support somebody else. Let me take a look around. And just as they were doing that, he flip-flops with Tucker on Ukraine. Then he mishandles the indictments. Then he does this, he does that, and the whole time, his surrogates, his influencers, the candidate himself, and his campaign manager, and he's got his own pollsters out there, are just trashing everybody. I never saw anybody win an election by burning bridges with people they needed to actually win a vote from. And people go, his people say, oh, Trump did nothing but trash people in 2016. He didn't trash the voters. He didn't go after the voters, and he wasn't going after people the voters trust and appreciate and look to help navigate this stuff. He trashed the people that the voters didn't feel were credible at all. They didn't create this crisis of credibility with people attempting to smear them. They already had a crisis of credibility, and Trump just exploited it. They want to create fake crisis of credibility. Everybody's wrong but them. Nobody's buying it. You can continue to do it with your bots as much as you want. And by the way, no Republican should be using bots. No Republican candidate should be using bot farms in Ukraine or wherever the hell these bots are coming from. They are verbatim, word for word, with the same max accounts that probably aren't even real people, by the way, either. Probably anyway. Yeah, the moment you trash that population, it's over. So I don't really know what he can do at this point other than fire everybody who has ever offended anybody. I don't know. I don't know, because let's be honest. The strategy was wait for the indictments and Trump is going to sink and I'm going to be the de facto replacement candidate. The strategy didn't work. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of the voter and what they want, or how much they'll defend somebody who they know defended them. All right, and I'm not talking about in Tallahassee or against the teacher union, which, by the way, didn't even stick. The judge overruled vast majority of what he was just talking about. Judges overruled it. They took not even a scalpel. They took a cleaver to his culture war reforms. Much of it got completely undone. He got outsmarted on Disney. He got outmaneuvered on Disney. Come on. We're talking about big things. Big things. Not Tallahassee, in D.C. And all of those culture war stuff are big things, and they do have to be done at the local level. But to pretend like you can compare that to the assault that they leveled against that guy and his voters, literally, they're putting his voters in jail. Literally. They destroyed their businesses. They ruined their financial ties to institutions. It's unbelievable to me how everyone falls into the same trap with this guy. It's just, to me, absolutely unbelievable. Before we get back to the poll and talk about a couple of things that we're going to do, let me put up, because we're already at 12:58. My God. You know what? Let me take an actual, I was like watching it while I was playing those videos, so that worked out. But let me take an actual break and have a word from our sponsors here. But, you know, NL asked a very serious question, and I'm going to read what I got when we come back. Before we get to Texas, I'm going to read what I've got so far. It's going to be a big article, because there are two elements to this article. One is the polling and what we see in the polling, what we have seen in the polling, how we can compare what we've seen in the past cycles to now. And then the second part of that, NL, gets to what I was saying in response to your question, which is we can actually look back at certain states and we can see it. So Trump in Iowa, Ohio, literally won every single age group. He, in 2020, he proved so much in Florida with younger voters. We went over that a little bit. 18 to 29, when I had that demographic close, even though nationally it wasn't, we took flack over it. It was perfectly okay, by the way, when Glenn Youngkin was close with the 18 to 29s. Nobody said anything funny about the polls then. Only when it's Donald Trump. And by the way, it happened. So, sorry. But yeah, we'll read some of that. And then we'll get back into Iowa. I probably can't get the questionnaire done with you guys today, but it will be done, because I want it to go out. I want this to run soon. Okay. All right, but let's take a quick word, and when we come back, I'll try to answer, because I see a lot of you guys are actually talking about that. All right, but before we do, let's get to it real quick. Patriot Power Generator 2000X. Look, folks, we're led by complete incompetent idiots. That, coupled with authorities fearing that extremists are targeting the U.S. power grid. There's an article in Time magazine recently about this. If just 9 key substations were to go down through incompetence, extremism, or weather, it could knock out power across the country for up to 18 months. Everyone's life, for the most part, everybody's life would be frozen in time at the moment that power went out. That's why you need a solar generator. The new Patriot Power Generator 2000X is portable, but it's powerful enough for your phones, medical devices, even your refrigerator. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com. You can grab that deal right there, which is already a great deal, and use the promo code TPP10 at checkout to knock another 10% off. This code, of course, is for your first purchase, so make it count. Go to 4patriots.com. Use the promo code TPP10 to get your Patriot Power Generator today. Again, that's 4s and the number 4, patriots.com, TPP10, folks, at checkout, TPP10. And before we go back to our regular scheduled program, the folks at Jam and Bean did re-up that deal again this month. So for everyone who's starting a new subscription to Jam and Bean, whether it doesn't matter, whether it's freshly roasted coffee and their gourmet coffee, or it's K-Cups, they're amazing medium roast that is still full body. It doesn't matter. Any new subscription, use the promo code TPP40 at checkout, and that'll knock 40% off right off the bat on that first initial sign-up fee, and you will still get 10% off on every subsequent month when your subscription renews. Again, that's Jam and Bean, JAMN, bean.com, and use the code TPP40 when you sign up for a new subscription. Their gourmet popcorn is amazing. Look at that right there. That's actually making my mouth water. If I have caramel latte, mocha latte back here that I just got. It's delicious. But I also do like things like sour cream and chives is just incredible. And they have tons. But before the family left, we actually had homemade pancakes a la Laura and used that Michigan maple syrup, grade 1, a mass of gold right there. The whole family loved it. It was amazing. See those roses, by the way? Check that out. It's local pickup only. If you're in Michigan, though, you could do it. You can go get them. It's a Patriot-owned business, number one. They are great patriots. But also, number two, they fought the COVID fight, the good fight. All right. And they make an amazing, amazing product. You know, I don't know if there's a lot of new people listening today. When I was young, really, really young, I had a job at a coffee import roasting company. And the guy was a magician when it came to roasting coffee. So I know it when I see it. Never drink, like I hate Starbucks after working. Thank you, Andrew. You killed me for normal coffee forever, because it was just night and day different when you get somebody who is basically an artist, at roasting coffee. It's all in the nose. It's, they can look at the bean, they smell the bean, and they know exactly when it's that specific kind of coffee is roasted to perfection. And the guys at Jam and Bean have it down. They really do. They're gifted. All right. So, all right, let's move on here. Go back to, should we do the poll first? What do you want to do first? The poll or get into the age trend thing? Let me just read this to you guys. All right. First, it's important to note polling is not the same as actual voting results, of course. But it certainly isn't wise to dismiss it either or altogether, like we're seeing people do. Yet in response to this argument, that's exactly what several clearly anti-Trump analysts and pollsters are attempting to do. Second, it's equally important to note that neither I nor any of these pollsters that are currently finding this strength with these voter groups and Trump leading in 2024, we never measured its existence to this degree. And what we see for 2024 simply was not there in 2020, barring isolation in a few states, which we'll get into. And we won't now, but in the article we will, because it's a lot. Given what we see now, I'm suggesting those states were likely acting as canaries in the coal mines rather than truly isolated incidents, meaning it was always there, potentially there, but what happened in 2020 was so irregular, it obfuscated what started in 16, because you can see it in 16 if you look at it. Go look NL, check out Maine. Check out the exit polls in Maine in 2016. Look at Iowa. Look at Ohio. Look at and compare Florida in 16 to 20. Trump won on the back of older voters in Florida. White transplants, his renewed strength with Cubans in the South. That's how he was able to even get 30-something% in Miami-Dade. Yeah, that actually was not due to white vote. The rest of the white vote in the Panhandle, in the Tampa area, his strength in north central Florida with whiter voters, but they were older voters too. And Hillary still did what you would expect a Democrat to do with younger voters. In 2020, Joe Biden significantly underperformed against Donald Trump with non-whites and with younger voters, even 25 to 29. We see it in Texas as well. So states like Maine, though, kind of shifted back a little bit, even though the margin was roughly still the same. It was, again, done through different age groups. All right. So most of us never had the former president leading in the national popular vote in 2020. As a matter of fact, I don't think any of us ever had him leading. Not in the season. Maybe early polling indicated it because Trump was ahead before COVID, but not as we got into the home stretch through the summer and the fall. It was always going to be a race that was closely decided by the Electoral College, not the popular vote. In 2020, our final poll for the Epoch Times found Biden leading Trump by 4 points. However, while we did measure an increase in non-white support in certain battleground states, we did not find significant strength nationally for Trump among these groups. Biden led Trump among 18 to 29-year-old voters by 21.4 points in our final poll. Roughly 12% of black voters backed Trump and Hispanics backed Biden, 54 to 32. Not that big of a difference. Isolation areas like Texas, Southwest Texas, South Texas in general, and Florida and some other areas, Trump did better with Hispanics. But nationally, it was very, very similar to what we saw. A Big Village Caravan poll found Trump barely trailing Biden with Gen Z voters, 36.4 to 38.3. Biden crushes DeSantis in the very same poll, 41 to 21. So it's not just that people don't know who DeSantis is. Trump also led with Hispanics, which was crazy. And, people can, call it for what it is. But in a more recent Echelon Insights poll, which was June 26th to the 29th, Biden led DeSantis among voters 18 to 29, 56 to 30. Meanwhile, Trump polled significantly stronger against Biden with that group, trailing only 53 to 40. So Trump had 10 points more in support, and he brought Biden down 3 points more. All right. So this is not something that's caused by name recognition. This is a Trump only. There's a vote that is a non-white and younger. That is a Trump only vote, period. They may not even vote at all because that's what I suspect strongly would happen. There is also a glaring disparity in support among non-whites favoring Trump, though it does not come at the cost of support of white voters who backed Trump 51 to 38, and white voters backed DeSantis over Biden 50 to 38. So Trump actually had it's insignificant, but 1 point higher support. Black voters supported Trump 16% in greater numbers than DeSantis, 12. And with Biden earning 72 and 73, respectively, against both. Hispanic voters actually favor Trump in that poll, 46 to 44. So Echelon very much mirrored Big Village. While those very same voters back Biden 50-35 against DeSantis. Yes, folks, that is the dominant growing demographic in this country. Again, it's not simply due to name recognition. There are younger non-white voters who will vote for the former president over the current president, but would stick with the current president against any other candidate or simply stay home. And this is not simply a phenomenon observed in national polling. We see it in red states, blue states, purple states. The Beacon poll, let's start with a red state. The Beacon poll in Tennessee found Trump leading Biden among 18 to 24-year-olds, 54 to 33. While DeSantis and Biden were tied at 38. Beacon spokesman Mark Cunningham specifically stated DeSantis' underperformance almost exclusively, quote, was due to voters who say they would vote for Trump as their nominee, but would not vote at all if DeSantis were the nominee, unquote. And we've been conducting, and you guys know this is just what it says. We've been conducting extensive research to measure the net impact of the Trump-only vote. They dwarf the Never Trump vote and are younger and far more diverse than coalitions historically known to support Republican nominees. And I can shorten this up for you. We get into the Emerson poll. Look at the Emerson poll in California. Trump does double-digit better among younger voters and among non-white voters in the state of California. That's why he outperforms DeSantis by 6 points in the state of California. Now, it's California. You may think, who cares? It's only 6 points. Going to lose it anyway. But it freaking matters. Demographics, demographics, demographics. What it means is that it isn't an isolated thing anymore when it comes to Donald Trump. It's not just South Florida anymore. It's not just South Texas anymore. So that's where we're at. Hold on, let me go tell. Sweep the pool before the flipper cycle starts. I'm just telling my son, look, you're getting too old. You need he's like, a little bit mad at me. All these chores. Look, I'm teaching you to be a man. Okay? That is what I'm teaching you to be. Men are productive. Men have chores when they're younger. Get over it. Every time, dude, my dad made me do everything. I would come home from school, I had a dust and vacuum. I always did whatever dishes I had made. I never left a dish in the sink. Never. Were you guys allowed to leave dishes in the sink? Not me. I'm 41. I don't know what your, I don't know what your generation is, but snowball's chance in hell. I was able to do that. If I walked in with my shoes on and chucked a leaf in the house, I got a smack across the head, which is totally fine. That's all right. Yeah. Tom Braun de facto. So again, we're going to talk. We'll bang out the Iowa questionnaire, I will, but just expect that we're going to ask presidential preference. We're going to do the Trump only versus never Trump vote. And by the way, why is that important? Because it's important to see how Democrats answer to that too. It mattered a lot in 2016. We saw it with Bernie voters, and they were crucial to Trump being able to win some of those Rust Belt states. So we're also going to ask, of course, the same thing of Democrats. I feel like Robert Kennedy Jr.'s voters are soon to be disenfranchised and very disgruntled voters who are willing to vote for another candidate that they may have synergy with. All right. And then also second choice. So that's generally how this survey is going to line up. And the rest of what we have, the white detail for demographics, followed into the remainder of demographics, which I'll just tell you right now, the remainder of them are religious affiliation and evangelical, whether they are evangelical. We will ask, of course, ideology. We're also going to ask about Republican identification. I may split ideology to see. I may. I don't know yet. We'll see though. And then, of course, first-time caucus goers. Are you a first-time caucus goer? And did I mention second choice? Because then that wraps that up. We'll ask area. We'll have our geographic or regional demographics after. And the Iowa will be broken down by area, suburban, urban, rural. And then the eastern cities, the East Central, the Des Moines area will be separate. That's 24% of the vote alone. Eastern cities usually, or it's about a quarter. Eastern cities are also a little bit, about a quarter, sometimes a little bit more. East Central is about 20%, and the Central is about 15%, and so is the West. So that's how we're going to be splitting that up. In a general election, again, this is why Trump does so much better in the eastern cities than other Republicans do. Yet he still doesn't give up any ground in eastern central Iowa, where he actually increased in 2020. He won it over Clinton 52-41. He won it over Biden 56-41. The Des Moines area, he lost by 10 points in 2020. He lost it by 11 in 2016. Central Iowa, he won 64-35 in 2020, which again was an increase. He won it with 63-35 or something in 2016. And in the West, it was very close. He stayed at 67, super majority, but Clinton only got 28. Biden got 31. So a sampling error is about that anyway in an exit poll. So I'm not sure how much you want to infer from 1 to 2, 3 point variances when you see both candidates go, in different positions, and the net becomes more than the sampling error. Then, plus we have subgroups, and sampling errors for subgroups are higher. All right, let's take a look at Texas. All right, here is the CWS research, and this is CWS Research LLC. Where is my body armor? Water it is. This has been a more pro DeSantis poll for a couple of months. So while Emerson, myself, we polled Texas, and others showed a much more dominant lead for Trump, this one was still, Trump's leading, but it's like 45-23 or something like that. And that was always interesting to me. While others, I think Emerson had Trump closer to 60. We had Trump, I think, very, very close. I'll look it up right now, but I want to say it was, you guys remember? I don't remember. Hold on. Can't remember everything anymore, although I try. I guess it's a screenshot. I must have taken a screenshot of it. Come on, I know you're here. Yeah, there we go. That's Texas's districts. So that's some pretty cool research, but I can't, unfortunately, can't share that in full, in toto. Can't show it. Come on. I know it's here. Ta-da! Oh, we did have Trump at 60. 60.2. DeSantis was 17.4. And everyone else together was 18.7. Undecided was 3.7. They have it, Defense Texas Liberty PAC, Texas statewide poll, conducted the 28th of June to the 30th of June through interactive voice response and online surveys that were done through SMS. We'll say that if you're going to, this is why. Okay, so now I'm looking at it, I can see. Interactive voice and certain live callers are absolutely going to be more favorable to DeSantis. I showed you that. They are. Who has a landline? Let's start with interactive voice response. Who has a landline? Right. So MAGA is younger and more non-white. The only place DeSantis has that little bit of support that he's been able to hold on to in all of these different areas comes from older voters who have a college degree. Typically, it does not come from working class at all. And even that I would have to limit to older voters that have a 4-year degree, because strangely, in some of these states, post-grads sticking with Trump. It's weird. And I'm not the only one to find it. Emerson and others, I was looking at demographics. It's absolutely the case. All right, so it makes sense to me looking at their methodology why they were more pro DeSantis, and yet still they are finding this trend. Would you consider yourself a Republican, an independent, a Democrat, or another affiliation? Texas is, remember our map, Texas is technically an open primary. Registration is what in Texas? Inferred. All registered parties may participate, and we're going to get into the delegate rules in a second when we go over this, because from now on, we really need to start, especially with the Super Tuesday states. From now on, we need to talk about what these trends in polling mean for the delegate count. Delegate math is what wins nominations, right? So the polling looking at, oh, that's great. Somebody, so-and-so's at 19%. Okay, well, 19% doesn't qualify you for shit. You don't get anything. Anyway, if the upcoming primary was held today, who would you vote for? Trump is now at 51. DeSantis is at 19. Everyone else is in low single digits. And the two-way matchup, DeSantis goes to 32, Trump goes to 53, and 15% are undecided. It doesn't really matter that Trump only gets 2 more points, and he's only getting 2 points because the vast majority is IVR. I can say that. In text, it depends on where it is. When they delivered those online samples to through the SMS, which means it probably came through a panel. They should have elaborated on whether or not it was a voter file that they texted to, because then that's not an online panel. That's just an online interview, but it was conducted through cell phones. Why does it matter? Because you're going to reach a different demographic. Online panels have to be designed so they're demographically diverse and representative. If you take a list off the voter file and it's randomly pulled, a randomly generated list, and then you use texting software to deliver it out there, that's still a randomized survey. And this, the older voters are not going to be more likely, like IVR or like live caller. They're not going to be more likely to participate, older and educated voters. So those modes favor the traditional wing of the Republican Party. Let me just put it that way. And so that would bring DeSantis to 32. If it was a two-way race, it would qualify DeSantis to earn some delegates because of the way that Texas. Oh, no, it wouldn't. Excuse me. They have a majority threshold rule for the at-large as well, don't they? Let me just read. As a matter of fact, before we go further, all 162 delegates are bound, including 114 district delegates, 3 per district, and 48 at-large statewide delegates. Majority district leads receive all 3 candidates. If candidates lead with a plurality and more than one meets the 20% threshold, the leader receives 2 delegates and second place receives 1. If no candidate meets the 20% threshold, the top 3 vote getters each receive a delegate. And if the winning candidate earns a majority of the vote statewide, they earn all 48 at-large delegates. If no candidate receives a statewide majority, delegates are awarded proportionally to all candidates meeting the 20% threshold using rounding rules. Okay, so that's a wipeout. That's a wipeout. Then that's it, is what I'm saying. It is possible that 32% DeSantis could, and probably, let's take a look. Did they break it down by congressional district? Probably not. They do not support the removal of Ken Paxton. They do not support the impeachment of Ken Paxton. Interesting. Which I'm not surprised. I'm looking at the 18 to 34 is only 7%. That's another. See what I mean? Do you see what I mean, guys? If I went to the voter file right now and did a model to see who is most likely to participate in a Republican primary, 18 to 34 in Texas now, even a Republican primary is not going to be 7%. That is how they reach. That's because they reached a whole lot of IVR. And by the way, Hispanics are going to be more than 8%. I'm just telling you, they are. So this is where this makes sense to me. Again, this trend is, so Trump went from 47 to 51. DeSantis went from 23 to 19. There was no change. They didn't poll Chris Christie. Tim Scott, no change. Nikki Haley went up 1 point. Mike Pence went up 1 point. Asa Hutchinson fell 1 point. Vivek was no change. Doug Burgum wasn't polled, so it's no trend. Will Hurd gets 3% in his own home state of Texas. This is just embarrassing. Ted Cruz was polled in May, got 4. He was not polled now. I don't know why you would have polled Ted Cruz. He has no serious chance of ever being president. Not anytime soon. Undecided went from 13% to 10%. So the lion's share of people who decided from May to June decided for Donald Trump, and some people even appear to have if DeSantis lost 4 points, one probably went to Nikki, one probably went to Pence. There's really no, so even one went to Trump, and then the 3% of undecided went to Trump. This is a very bad poll for Team DeSantis, even though the way that the methodology works is heavily favored to the traditional winning of the party. This is bad. That's bad. That's really not good. So Trump took 25% of the people who left Ron DeSantis, and then the rest was split. Yeah, he did. I guess Will Hurd probably got one of them, because he wasn't polled. So it's hard to say what the change was. And Chris Christie, I don't know. The lion's share of undecideds maybe went to Trump. I don't know. That's a good question. But it's not good. It's just not good. Rich, there's a lot of talk about Vivek. He doesn't seem to be catching traction in some of these battleground states, but very clearly nationally, you can see it. You can see it, and it's isolated though. It's just not widespread. Wow, I'm just watching a girl dance her heart out over here. Good job, kid. Not a kid. Looks like he's probably 20. I don't know. But yeah, so either way, winner take all. What does this mean? With the winner take all provision, it means that this is why California wants proportional allocation for their at-large delegates, and it's why they want split rules or tried. That's what the rule proposed by Jessica Patterson says. It's a split delegate, no majority. That's what she put. And then the at-large were allocated proportionally. That is an attempt to dilute the delegates and to make sure, because we talked about this, that's why Iowa is so important. If he pulls and if Ron DeSantis performs better than the poll suggests in Iowa, then he can get a narrative win. But if he gets thumped in Super Tuesday, in both Texas and California, Trump triggers majority threshold rules. It's over. We can all go home. All right. You want to vote in your state? I'm sure you will, and you will. But I'm saying it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I gotta put this up, Rich. I gotta put this up. I know these women. I'm telling you, I know these women. I used to speak to these women all the time. If a pollster calls her, good luck getting off the phone in under an hour. That's the live caller trap, and you will see some of these very badly trained or poorly trained agents, interviewers, chit chat. Like, hello, it's like $25 per complete. Can you hurry up? But this is true. This is true. This is so funny. It's good stuff. Yeah. So, I give wide latitude for online people, Rich, like that, because I even allow them to like save and come back because it could be fatigue. Everybody's different. I know 70-something-year-old man who's got to get his glasses. My old pops, and you got to get his glasses. He doesn't want to sit there and finish it all at once. If it bothers him, he does a couple pages and read and bothers his eyes. He hits save. And if you don't, by the way, then it'll take it as you're trying to do the survey twice. So when you hit save, you're going to override the cookie and or IP block that it's going to put on you when you try to come back. All right, just remember that in case you take another poll and they give you the option to save. All right, don't forget, if you're going to put it down or even let your screen go black or something or hit save. Save and continue. Save. If you're going to go back to it, save and continue. If you're going to want to click and come back to the link later, save. All right. I just do the one option and it covers both, but some others don't. All right. So there we have it. So in the last 2 days, there have been, oh my God, this guy on Twitter who's a DeSantis fan in response to the Tennessee poll yesterday was like, it doesn't matter. Tennessee is irrelevant. DeSantis is going to win these other states. Tennessee is not irrelevant. I'm sure the people of Tennessee don't want to hear you call them irrelevant. And from the Iowa caucuses on January 22nd to March 5th, Super Tuesday, all 20 states, right? It's 20 states. Yes, all 20 states. Tennessee has the fourth highest number of delegates up for grabs. First is California with 169. Then Texas, we just went over 162. Then North Carolina, which has 75. Then Tennessee, which has 58. Those are the four most delegate-rich states starting from January 22nd, the Iowa caucuses, to Super Tuesday on March 5th, which is, I think, 15 states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 on the dot. Stupid. What a stupid response. Almost as stupid as putting up a bucktooth picture of what looks to be a simpleton and making a comment about infiltrating a Trump rally. Like, you want to win his voters, and you do stupid stuff like this? I don't think Jeff Rowe is in charge of the campaign anymore. I mean, I know he is technically, but I've seen other campaigns that Jeff Rowe has run. He has never run campaigns this stupid. I think that it's like every influencer for itself, and I strongly, strongly suspect, as Doug Schoen has given interviews, Dick Morris has given interviews, the worst thing for a campaign manager is to have a dominant spouse in the picture. All right. It's spite. It's spite. It is. It's her and her team of influencers. They wrecked him. They wrecked him like a rectum. Telling you. She's killing him. She's killing him. What do you guys think about the ad? And what do you think about I don't think it's off limits for her to talk about her battle with cancer, but it's got to be done a certain way. I don't think it was tasteful what happened yesterday, Mediaite. Fox's Will Kane presses. That's what the video I played. The video I've played earlier before. That's it. I mean, this is months now. And everybody on locals too. You get it. It is. Jill is running the campaign. It is. Hillary DeSantis. Oh, God. The heels with the camouflage pants. Oh, my God. You're trying to be relatable and you go out there in heels. Anyway, I did. That's what we played. And there was something else I wanted to talk about. The Coke in the White House. Okay. Molly had something. That's right. That's the other thing. Because I mean, we're basically through, some of the delegate math is very, very easy at this point, folks. The delegate math is very easy. The delegate math is simple. These are winner take all provision states. So the only thing, if the candidate is above that majority in the state, there's no question about what's going to happen with the at-large delegates if they have a winner-take-all provision on the at-large state-level delegates. That leaves the congressional districts. If he's at 19, it means he's below 20 in a lot of congressional districts. You'd have to, I wish they would have put it up by district, because I wish we would have been able to gauge whether or not Trump was below 50 in a district where DeSantis was still at the threshold for 20. Because then that means they would split that district 2 and 1, and DeSantis would get a couple of districts. But with a lead like that, I'm going to say, looking at Texas's congressional map, they didn't really put any regional information out there. But I'm going to say Trump's taking at least 100, and it would be so 11 in those areas. That means DeSantis would get 11. No, probably he may get like 11 delegates. I don't know. I'd really have to see more details about. I'm trying to think about their polling and remember how because Emerson does give you both area and often give you congressional district. And then I'm thinking about there's like 11 in Texas where I think we could assume safely that DeSantis is above that 20%. But there's going to be a lot of conservative districts that he is not going to be above. If he's at 19 statewide, it means he is, it's got to be concentrated urban centers like Harris. I polled Tarrant County myself. I already know what that district looks like. He would be above 20, but Trump is at 53. So it's very, very possible in the 12th district, DeSantis gets nothing. The 14th, maybe. I don't know. When I'm polling a big state like that, I'm most definitely going to poll districts because you just need to know with the delegate math. Oftentimes, some people don't know what district they belong in. So, you have to give them a mechanism to be able to figure that out, or you have to know and, confirm that address. Is this your address? Okay, now we can mark them down. We know they're in the 8th district. We know they're in the 14th district, right? So, yeah. And okay, here it is. Got it. I got to bring this up. The gaslighting is unbelievable. Anyone who knows anything about the White House, even Andrea Mitchell yesterday, said this is different. Now we know where the bag of Coke was found. There is no way that you can claim that this was, some visitor that must have left it. That's just crazy. What Sebastian Gorka said is 100% true. And actually, we should play Gorka too. And before I play Maggie, and before I read Jordan's column, let's play Gorka because, he lays it down. And remember, Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC is saying the same thing Gorka is. Why? Because she's covered the White House. She knows the White House. You cannot tell me where this bag of cocaine was found was left by some stranger by happenstance or some visitor. This is not a civilian area. And if it is a civilian, they would have been searched to a different degree than other people who have access all the time routinely and know, that they're not going to be searched all that much. All right. Let's play Gorka. And again, remember, freaking Andrea Mitchell, of all people, isn't buying it. She's not buying it. All right, let's do it.
Cut the garbage out. All the rubbish that's been spewed about the dime bag, coke in the White House story. I worked in the White House. See that? Presidential service pin. That's what that means. Let's talk about what happened and what didn't happen. It wasn't found in a well-trafficked area. Listen to the audio recording of the hazmat team that had to use the Gemini chemical detection equipment to identify the white powder. They were in the library of the residence. I was a deputy to the president. I went there once after a private dinner with President Trump. You don't get to go in there whenever you want. Secondly, if you're a certain category.
Wait, did you hear what he just said? He's going to say secondly, and that's important too. But did you hear how many times he's been in that area? Right. In his position. Right.
Like I was, with a blue access, all access pass to the White House, or a member of the family, if you come into the White House in a vehicle, your vehicle isn't searched. You may have a canine EOD inspection, which is pretty random, but they don't even open up your vehicle. You can bring in anything. If you're a member of a press or a visitor, that's not the case. You go through multiple security checks.
Right.
Points. So let's be clear. It's a member of the family or a very senior person working for the president. But I think we all know who it is, right? Come on.
Come on, he says. By the way, I'll be on Gorka's show this weekend. All right. Sunday, 7 p.m. Don't forget. I'll tweet it out, by the way, of course. But the truth with Gorka. We talked about some of the the arguments when it comes to polling and stuff. But yeah, this is ridiculous. This would make sense though. And you know me, guys, you know me when it comes to drug addiction. All right. I've had my own issues. You know how I feel about it. I don't like beating somebody down for that, but God help me. God help you. If I was in a position of power in active drug addiction, when I'm active in the cycle, thank God it's been almost 2 decades. But this would make sense to me. I mean, it could be a senior staff member. Look at these idiots. Look at them. Maybe that explains why they're so freaking stupid. And they make some dumb decisions. They're sketching out. Or it was a member of the family. Right. I mean, there really is no other option. Which brings me to this article, which is a great article. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The White House that tracked down grannies after Capitol riot want you to believe cocaine caper has them stumped. This is another thing. The friggin' security tapes, man. This is not hard. This is an administration that was tracking people who had been at the Capitol on January 6th. Months later, finding to granular detail their movements. And then this is just absolutely ridiculous. Biden's Department of Justice is still working on charging Americans for January 6th, but will not investigate the cocaine security breach. The White House is apparently giving up on finding who was responsible for leaving an illicit drug in the executive mansion last week. At least that's what Politico reported based on the testimony of an unnamed law enforcement official. White House cocaine culprit unlikely to be found, law enforcement official. The headline reads. A snarky subhead noted, lines may have been snorted and crossed, but it's possible we won't know By whom? Yeah, I mean, well, what do you expect from a bunch of cokehead reporters? Officials evacuated the White House on Sunday evening after a white powdery substance was reportedly discovered in a work area in the West Wing. The location later changed to near the Situation Room. Dispatches from the emergency crews at the scene quickly confirmed that the unknown item was a bag of cocaine. We have a yellow bar stating cocaine hydrochloride, a DC firefighter said in a radio communication at 8:49 p.m. on Sunday. And by the way, that I thought I heard actually in the original recording blue. So that means Gorka is right. It was not a chemical test. It was done with the Gemini, which Laura and I actually had talked to a bunch of people who are in customs, and they were like showering Trump with praise over the new technology and made sure they had, because the length that some of these people will go to smuggle drugs in through whether different airports. When we were talking to somebody at a well-known airport in New York, and the stuff these people go through, unbelievable. Not just in the packages, folks, but like literally within the seams of the cardboard that are used to ship items, just crazy stuff. And so the technology that they were given during the Trump administration was just really cool. That is the Gemini if it's a yellow bar. The White House is supposedly equipped with state-of-the-art security that would make finding the druggie who lost his illegal loot incredibly easy. White House staff and visitors are required to go through multiple security checkpoints before entering areas like the West Wing. Some of these screening areas are even equipped with dogs that are trained to alert illegal substances and items. Where metal detectors and cameras may fail, Secret Service and White House visitor logs are designed to prevail. Against a bag of cocaine, however, Politico's inside man suggests all these measures are moot. Even if there were secure surveillance cameras, unless you were waving it around, it may not have been caught, the anonymous official told Politico. It's a bit of a thoroughfare. People walk by there all the time. This is the biggest crock of I've ever heard. The White House has some of the best surveillance technology in the world. This is not like you would not see somebody throw a baggie on a corner table outside the Situation Room. Folks, this is crazy. And here's what pisses me off about this story. If the cops come in your house or the feds come in your house and they find a bag of coke in your house, you're going to jail. It doesn't matter if somebody takes responsibility for it. If nobody takes responsibility for it, the owner of the house or the resident is going to jail. You are going to jail. So the Bidens get away with gun charges that put the rest of us away for 5 years. They get away with bribery charges, financial crimes that would put the rest of us away for decades. And now they get away with illicit substances that literally put black and brown people away for life, if it's enough times. If they get caught 3 times, doesn't matter if it's a rock the size of a dime. They're gone. Not the Bidens. Not the Biden family or anybody who works for them. They get away with anything. They can dump illegal guns. They can lie on applications. They can leave their coke laying around. Like Tony Montana. This is outrageous. How many people have you seen go to jail over illicit substances like this? In a lot more, I would say not less, in a lot more convoluted situation. Whose baggie is that under the seat? Who left this over here on the table? They're just going to take away the person that's in charge of the car. They're going to take away who's driving, whose vehicle is it? You're going to prison. Whose house is this? You're going to jail. No one wants to fess up to it. Not the Bidens. Not the political class. They can get away with anything. That's what's so bad about this story. Not making fun of Hunter Biden's addiction, which is really low, actually. What's dangerous is him being in active addiction and being in roles of authority. That's the problem. not the Bidens. The real outrage here is that the law doesn't apply to anyone but the little guy or anyone who wants to defend the little guy. The law applies to them too. But any piece of shit who wants to run for office gets to do whatever they want as long as they're willing to play ball and they're in the club. How many times did we hear during that stupid fake Mueller probe, fake ass Russia collusion, Trump's not above the law. The Trumps aren't above the law. Nobody's above the law. They're above the law. If the law finds a bag of coke in your house, you're going to jail. Nobody wants to fess up to who it is? Then guess what, Joe? You're going to jail. Why? Because he's the president? He's in charge. It's his show over there. Not the Bidens, not the ruling class. They get to launder money to oligarchs. They get to take money out of your pocket so they can give it to others who then pay them bribes, lie on firearm applications, dump illegal firearms some poor little bastard kid could have grabbed and shot himself in the head with, and take responsibility for your granddaughter, you dirtbag. I don't care what name you got, what letter you got after your name. Men take care of their children. Poor little girl. Maybe he's better off. She's better off without them. Honestly. This one takes bribes. This one gives his dad part of the bribe money. This one's constantly smoking crack and buying underage prostitutes. This one's banging his dead brother's wife. Who bangs their dead brother's wife? Who are these people? Just give that poor little girl some money and stay the hell away from her. But take responsibility. Deadbeat dad. Deadbeat big guy. And I don't want to hear the drug addict excuse for why you don't take care of your children. That was one of the main things that helped me get out of active addiction. It's called suck it up and be a man. You have a kid to take care of. They didn't ask for you to be damaged. They didn't ask to be brought into this world. Take the crack pipe out of your mouth. Take care of your child. Like father, like son, damn right. And keep your hands off your daughter in the shower. Who are these people? My God, have you read that diary? And this is who federal and local law enforcement choose to give above the law status? We're screwed. Screwed if this continues. If this is the way it's going to be. Might as well, folks, this is like the end of the French Empire type stuff. This is like, get the crack pipe out of your mouth and take care of your daughter. You want some help? I'll get you some help. I work with a lot of great agencies. We'll find you a bed, dude. It is not cool. It is not cool that these people get away with everything. Guns, drugs, bribery, organized crime, corruption of all sorts. Not cool. And this is a man who spent 4 decades in Washington, D.C., and supported, again, putting black and brown people in jail for years upon years upon years for getting caught with substances like this. And then, by the way, he supported putting all people, all colors, all races, all backgrounds in jail for years and years and years and years, getting caught with illicit substances like that. It just happened to disproportionately hurt black and brown people. That's the disgusting part about this story. Take care of your daughter, dirtbag, and stop banging your dead brother's wife. Ugh. Ugh. This man turned his daughter into a nymphomaniac. Read her diary. It's disgusting. He turned his daughter into a sex addict. He let older men prey on her as a young girl, and she liked it because when she was young, she was groomed by her own daddy, who stimulated her in the shower. It's disgusting! What the hell are we doing? And how many stories have you seen about Trump joked about Ivanka? Trump joked inappropriately about Ivanka. Did he shower with her and leave older men at her bedside? They don't cover that at all. Did he turn Ivanka into a nymphomaniac with his inappropriate, disgusting old man dirtbag behavior? I have a daughter. I would expect the devil to fry my ass in hell if I ever touched her inappropriately like that. Don't even fry me. I would expect him to slowly fry me as he peels my skin centimeter by centimeter for all of eternity off of my body. Yeah, in the video, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent like this. And the videos, these little girls in these videos, that little Russian girl looks like she's 15. Can we get real? And that's the way their friends in Ukraine do it. I got news for you. They steal them out of small towns and promise them this big grand future. And they end up satisfying disgusting old rich white men like Joe Biden. Shame on us. God forgive us. The government you elect is the government you deserve. They were around a lot longer before 2020. And it's not just the Bidens or Democrats. It's not. Hastert, disgusting old fat slob. Disgusting Karl Rove, how long he knew about John Weaver and others. When I was not married, when I was young, it was no secret. I liked the ladies. I liked of age ladies. Even older than me when I was young. Yep, sure did. My God, though, that's just normal. This is something else. Ugh, Hastert. Ugh. White House staff and visitors are required to go through multiple security checkpoints before entering areas like the West Wing. Some of these screening areas are even equipped with dogs that are trained to alert to illegal substances and items. Where metal detectors and cameras may fail, swarms of Secret Service and White House visitor logs are designed to prevail, but none of this works unless the cocaine came from a member of the family, such as Hunter Biden, who potentially resides in the White House and gets a free pass to walk in and out of the mansion's many doors without scrutiny. Finding the cocaine culprit should be an open and shut case for the excellence through talent, technology, and diversity within the Secret Service. Yet, the Biden administration repeatedly showcases a lack of interest in discovering and sharing who dropped the bag and why. Obviously, this is the RNC here putting out research. I don't ever respond to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act. Actually, I should.
One more. Former President Trump has made some pretty wild posts recently on social media. One of them was that the cocaine found in the White House had belonged to either the president or his son?
Oh, you're wild. Wild. Do you hear these scumbags? This is why everything I just ranted about for the last 10 minutes, this is why we are where we are. It's wild. He was the president. He knows how it works here. This is not a mystery. What was the other crazy post? Where's the surveillance footage? You know, like the ones he had to hand over to Jack Smith, the crooked cop.
You willing to say that that's not the case, that they don't belong to them?
I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act. What I will say is that I have noticed there does seem to be some increasing frustration coming from that corner in general. And I think it is probably rooted in the contrast between their substantive policy records.
Do you believe this? I see there's frustration. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say. So what's preventing a visitor from bringing in anthrax or something that's not magnetic into the White House? One reporter queried at Wednesday's press briefing. It's a question worth asking. If the cocaine caper truly was a security breach that law enforcement officials couldn't catch at security checkpoints or on cameras, the White House cannot, in good conscience, claim that the first family is safe in the executive mansion. Jordan, you're expecting to make a logical argument here. And instead of addressing reporters' concerns, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre emphasized that the president and his family, probably the dumbest, can we just agree? This is probably the dumbest White House press secretary in the history of dumb White House press secretaries. And there's been several top contenders, including, she emphasized that the president and his family, including his son, who has a long history with the illicit drug, were not at the White House during the incident. She, along with several White House leakers, also repeated the idea that the drugs were discovered in a highly or heavily traveled area where many West Wing visitors come through. We have confidence that the Secret Service will get to the bottom of this, she said. Listen, again, this is a lie, okay? Because people who are, it is high traffic, it can be a high trafficked area, but people who are get checked unless you are the family or a highly placed advisor. Nobody else would be able to get that through. It's 1:59. I think we all know the bottom line in this story. We all know the bottom line. Bidens get away with everything. The people who are around the Bidens get away with everything. They can toss guns. They can lie on federal applications. They can buy underage prostitutes. They can touch their daughter in inappropriate ways. They can purchase and leave illicit drugs laying around. They could be on camera, doing illegal activities. And you know what? Shame on, and Mike Davis is right. Will Scharf is right. Shame on Republican law enforcement and attorney generalships around the countries. Shame on them, all of them, who haven't brought a case of the. You don't have to wait for the DC authorities or the Secret Service to do anything. Anyone who has evidence of illegal activity committed in their jurisdiction could do it. Anyway, and they sit on their ass, thumb up it, and twirl. They're just, then they beg you for your vote. We're so much better than the Democrats. Really? Are you really? Is it any wonder why so many of these people that we've been measuring this, this vote, this low propensity vote that just doesn't come out without certain people on the ballot? Even Barack Obama got some of these people out. And then later they switched from Obama supporters to Trump. Skipped 2012 altogether. Any wonder why they really don't see Republicans any different than Democrats? It's, to them, I don't know. If it was me and I got caught, if it was me and I left a bag of coke laying around out in my house and law enforcement found it, I'm going to jail. I don't really see what it's saying. George W. Bush. Let me ask you a question, folks. If the former president and head of the CIA's son, and vice president too, gets charged with a DUI. What did they really find him doing wrong? He's got a history with it too. Did they find a couple kilos in his trunk and they just gave him a DUI, or was there like a dead girl in there like the Kennedys? Disgusting. Just disgusting. Anyway, with that in mind, that concludes our daily program. We'll put out the full questionnaire on locals when it's done later tonight. I want to either get started on Saturday or Sunday with it. I got to see how many people I got that could be put on. I got people working on a lot of stuff right now, and I mean, you need to have quite a few agents. It's Iowa though, so it is a smaller state, but sometimes it can be like Wisconsin, where you're really not getting good regionally represented sample. So and it would only be, if we started on Sunday, we'd have to wait. We would have a lower time span, or a shorter time span that we would be able to poll. It is, especially when it comes to Republican caucus goers, very rather religious comparatively electorate. So we have to give them time, and it would have to be late afternoon. And then, so I really want Saturday, part of tomorrow. I really do. So yeah, another 2-hour shorter stream. When I originally started this, I was thinking like 30 minutes, an hour tops. Inside the numbers is 2 hours. I just wanted to keep them shorter this week because of Laura not being here. And, it's just easier. And so much for that. 2 hours. The other one was 2 hours and 20 minutes, right? What are you going to do? We have to have the conversation. We got to have this conversation. We got to have these talks. All right. So real quick to recap, tighter voter screen, vote history, preference, second choice. Will they vote at all or not? If it's not their choice, presidential elections, little drill down into white, ethnicity, origin, a couple other things, so should be cool. I don't want to throw too much onto it, but not everyone's going to take all of that anyway. So if they say that they're not going to participate in the caucus, they'll be skipped right to the general election questions, and beyond that. And of course, not everyone's going to take every caucus question because it's based by party. So put the questionnaire out when we're done, along with the testing responses, which tell us how long by average it will take, depending on mode, what the fatigue score may be, the proficiency of how the survey is designed. All right. So is there any potential for it to be misunderstood? We'll put all that out, and then we'll get going on it. All right. All right, folks, all the best. I will see you tomorrow. Not on another shorter, probably tomorrow. We'll see. Let's see how it gets with the polling, but I'll see you real soon, as you know it. All the best, folks. Thanks for watching. Deuces. Don't forget, support the Public Polling Project far and wide. Share. You know the drill. Have a safe weekend.